Let me start this video with a truth most men refuse to admit. If you're waiting for women to come to you, you're already losing. I know that sounds harsh, and some of you might even feel offended, but it's exactly the reality. Most men spend their time hoping for attraction to happen naturally, thinking that being nice or available will somehow make women chase them. That's a lie that keeps millions of men stuck in frustration, confusion, and rejection. And the worst part, they don't even realize why it's happening. Here's the controversial truth. Women don't chase men because of luck, looks, or wealth alone. They chase men who understand the hidden psychology of attraction. That doesn't mean manipulation or trickery in a harmful way. It means knowing how human behavior works, knowing what sparks interest, and knowing how to naturally become someone worth pursuing. And I'm not talking about being fake or pretending to be someone you're not. I'm talking about using psychological principles that exist in every interaction to naturally become the man a woman wants to chase. Now, I can already hear some of you thinking, wait, isn't this unethical? No, it's not. Every day, women are already using psychology to influence men. They smile, they laugh at certain things, they subtly signal interest, and they guide conversations to see if a man is worth pursuing. If you refuse to understand this, you're basically letting women run the playbook while you sit on the bench. Knowledge is power, and understanding female psychology is about leveling the playing field, not tricking anyone. Here's why most men fail. They make themselves too available, too predictable, and too eager for approval. Think about it. Have you ever noticed that the men who seem to effortlessly attract women often aren't chasing anyone? They live their lives, focus on their goals, and carry a confidence that women subconsciously recognize as rare. Confidence is not arrogance. Confidence is a deep sense of self-worth that makes you magnetic. It's the subtle signal that says, I value myself, so you should value me too. And yes, women notice this, even if they don't consciously admit it. Another truth that will shock many men is this. Rejection is not a failure. It's a tool. Every time a woman doesn't chase you, you learn what works and what doesn't. Yet most men take it personally, lose confidence, and withdraw. The smart men, those who understand psychology, use a rejection as a roadmap. They don't let it define their self-worth. They let it sharpen their strategy. That's one of the most overlooked but powerful psychological hacks you can use to become a man women chase. Let's also talk about attention. Women are naturally drawn to men who control the attention in the room without trying too hard. That doesn't mean dominating conversations or being aggressive. It means subtly creating curiosity, showing value, and making your presence unforgettable. You don't have to be loud, flashy, or the life of the party. Sometimes it's as simple as being calm, composed, and knowing exactly what to say at the right time. This triggers a psychological effect called the chase principle. When something feels slightly out of reach, it becomes far more desirable. And yes, this applies to relationships too. Here's where most men completely lose the game. They ignore the power of mystery and self-respect. You can't expect a woman to chase a man who lays everything on the table immediately. Mystery isn't about playing games. It's about showing that you have a life, interest, and standards that don't revolve around approval from anyone. Women are naturally attracted to men who have boundaries, challenges, and a sense of direction. These are qualities that signal strength and value on a subconscious level. Finally, I want to make this very clear before we dive deeper. This video is not about controlling women or being manipulative. That's a dangerous mindset, and it always backfires. This is about understanding human behavior, being your best self, and naturally creating attraction. The psychological tricks I'm going to share are scientifically backed, easy to apply, and designed to make you irresistible in a way that's authentic and ethical. If you stay until the end of this video, you'll walk away with strategies that the average man doesn't even realize exist. You'll learn how to make women notice you, become genuinely interested, and chase you instead of the other way around. But here's a warning. Once you know these secrets, your relationships, and even your personal confidence will never be the same. Some men might feel uncomfortable because this knowledge exposes the truth. Most men aren't doing the work to be the kind of man women naturally pursue. That's exactly why so many fail, and why you, if you pay attention, will succeed. So, if you're ready to stop chasing, start attracting, and finally understand what makes women tick on a psychological level, pay close attention. What I'm about to reveal will challenge everything you thought you knew about attraction, but it will also give you the power to change the game completely. Here's the first psychological trick most men completely ignore. If you want a woman to chase you, you have to make yourself slightly unavailable. Now, before you panic and think this means ignoring her completely, hear me out. It's not about playing cruel games or acting like you don't care. It's about creating value in scarcity naturally. When you're always available, you become predictable. And predictability kills desire. Think about it. What do we naturally chase? Things that feel rare. Things that require effort. Things that aren't handed to us on a silver platter. This is exactly how human psychology works, and women are no exception. Many men make the mistake of overacting, overcommitting, or agreeing to every plan. The result? They burn out, look desperate, and make themselves easy to forget. On the other hand, men who subtly limit their availability send a message without even speaking. I have a life, I have value, and I'm not here just to fill your time. This instantly triggers interest because it challenges her subconscious mind. She starts asking herself, why isn't he always around? What's so different about him? That curiosity is exactly what sparks the chase. This doesn't mean ghosting or ignoring someone for days. It's about balance. It's about living your life fully while still making her feel important. For instance, imagine you meet a woman at a coffee shop. Instead of immediately agreeing to every suggestion she makes or spending all your free time with her, you maintain your rhythm. You might say, I'd love to see you this weekend, but I already have plans on Friday. How about Saturday afternoon? That small boundary communicates something powerful without a single word about your worth. You're showing her that your time is valuable, and that automatically elevates your presence in her mind. Another subtle way to do this is through text or social media. If she messages you constantly, you don't need to reply instantly every time. Respond in a way that's natural, but not desperate. Short, confident replies are a touch of humor, keeps the interaction light yet intriguing. She starts noticing your restraint, and suddenly, instead of taking your attention for granted, she begins investing in earning it. And when a woman starts doing the work to get your attention, that's when the dynamic flips. She's chasing you without even realizing it. Let's talk about the psychological principle behind this. Scarcity is a powerful driver of desire. Humans value what seems limited or slightly out of reach. If you're always present, always available, there's no challenge. Challenge builds attraction. This doesn't make you mean or unkind. It simply makes you a man with structure and purpose. Women are naturally drawn to men who demonstrate independence and self-respect because those qualities suggest strength and reliability. Think about it. Would you feel more drawn to something you could get easily or something you had to work for and was genuinely worth your effort? The same applies to women. Here's a scenario that illustrates this perfectly. Imagine a guy named Alex. Alex meets a woman at a gym. Instead of texting her immediately every day, he keeps his routine, head trains, meets friends, and focuses on work. When they do communicate, he's playful, confident, and intentional with his time. The woman notices he isn't glued to his phone, and she starts initiating conversations herself. She begins making plans to see him, even adjusting her schedule to match his, without Alex doing anything manipulative, simply by living a full life and respecting his time. He becomes the man she wants to pursue. What most men fail to understand is that being available 24/7 destroys intrigue. If you want a woman to chase you, you must allow her to see that you have a life that doesn't revolve around her approval. That creates tension in the best way. Healthy tension, not drama. It's the same tension that makes stories, movies, and books addictive. Humans crave that little push and pull, and when you integrate it into your interactions, you naturally generate interest. Now here's the kicker. Many men misinterpret this advice as being cold or distant, but the opposite is true. You're still kind, engaging, and fun to be around. The difference is that you set boundaries, value your time, and communicate subtly. That you're selective. This is what transforms ordinary men into magnetic men. Women chase men who have standards, lives, and purpose. Men who are unavailable, but in a way that signals confidence and self-respect. So, in essence, the first step in making a woman chase you is mastering your availability. Live your life first. Show your value naturally. Keep her guessing just enough to trigger. Dynamic in any interaction, and put you in the position where she's drawn to your, other than the other way around. It's simple, it's subtle, and it's psychological. If there's one thing men consistently fail at, it's understanding the power of mystery. Most guys think being open and transparent about every thought, feeling, and plan makes them attractive. In reality, it often does the opposite. When you lay everything out immediately, there's nothing left to discover. Predictability kills intrigue, and intrigue is the heartbeat of attraction. Women are drawn to what they don't fully understand, what keeps them guessing, and what challenges them to pay attention. Think about your favorite stories or shows. Why do you keep watching? It's the tension, the unknown, the little details left for you to piece together. Now, apply that to real life. When a woman interacts with a man whose layers, a life outside her, and a subtle complexity, she can't help but become curious. Curiosity is the spark that triggers interest, and interest is the first step toward pursuit. Most men reveal too much too soon. They share their entire history in one conversation. They explain every decision, and they answer every question immediately. This removes the mental chase. A woman subconsciously wants to discover parts of a man for herself. If there's nothing to uncover, the dynamic becomes one-sided, and she loses motivation. This is why mystery is not about being deceptive. It's about being selective and intentional with the way you present yourself. Relatable moments like showing a bit of unpredictability, having hobbies or interests that aren't solely shared with her, or keeping your schedule intentional can create subtle tension. That tension is magnetic. Women notice men who aren't entirely available or predictable, even if they can't articulate why. They feel drawn in because something about that man feels different, confident, and worth exploring. It's the same feeling you get when meeting someone who has a story you want to hear, or a life you want to peek into. Another thing men often overlook is how much self-sufficiency fuels curiosity. When you live a life with purpose, focus, and goals, you naturally create intrigue. Women are drawn to men who don't revolve around them because it signals independence and strength. Being fully engrossed in your own world, without being dismissive or cold, creates that irresistible aura. It's the silent message that says, I have standards, I have goals, I have a life that's worth noticing. And women pick up on that immediately. This doesn't mean being gun-kind or distant. It means maintaining balance between connection and individuality. Too much availability, too much oversharing, or too much explanation diminishes the psychological pull. But when a man respects his own space, and keeps parts of his world slightly hidden. It triggers a natural desire to understand, know, and invest of it. That investment is exactly what flips the dynamic. She becomes the one chasing, and you remain the one subtly in control. Relatability is key here. You know that feeling when you meet someone new and they reveal just enough about themselves to pique your curiosity, but not everything. That tension keeps your attention. That's exactly what women feel when interacting with a man who maintains subtle mystery. The more you understand that principle, the more you realize how often men accidentally sabotage themselves by being overly predictable, overly eager, or overly available. Here's the point you can take away. Mystery is not manipulation. It's strategic self-respect. It's about creating a mental challenge that feels rewarding to navigate. When a woman senses that a man is thoughtfully complex, has boundaries, and isn't a book that's been completely opened to her immediately, she begins to invest in him emotionally. Curiosity leads to attention. Attention leads to attraction. And attraction, when built subtly and authentically, makes her chase. So, if you want women to pursue, you naturally understand that mystery is your silent ally. It's not about hiding your personality. It's about revealing yourself in layers. It's about letting her see enough to be drawn in, while keeping her mentally engaged. It's about having a life, being confident, and maintaining a balance between closeness and independence. Mastering this will put you in a position where attraction happens effortlessly, because you're no longer the man who's easy to figure out. You're the man who's worth figuring out. Here's the brutal truth most men need to hear. If you're constantly seeking validation from women, you're doing it all wrong. Waiting for her to approve your jokes, agree with your opinions, or accept your plans doesn't make you attractive. It makes you invisible. Women are naturally drawn to men who exude confidence without arrogance, who carry themselves with self-assurance, and who value their own time and energy. If you're not that man yet, it's time to wake up. Too many men confuse friendliness with weakness. They believe being agreeable, accommodating, or always available will make women like them. But in reality, it often has the opposite effect. When you appear desperate for attention or approval, women subconsciously recognize it as a lack of self-worth. Confidence, on the other hand, signals stability, independence, and strength, qualities that spark interest and desire on a subconscious level. If you've been relying on compliments or constant engagement to feel attractive, it's time to stop. Confidence isn't about being flashy, loud, or dominating a room. It's about being comfortable in your own skin, knowing your value, and carrying yourself with a calm, assured presence. Think about men you've noticed in your life, or even in media. Why do they draw attention effortlessly? It's not because they're perfect. It's because they have clarity in who they are and don't seek permission to exist. That clarity is magnetic. Women notice it even if they don't consciously articulate why. Now let's be honest, most men fail because they underestimate the importance of self-respect. They compromise their time, energy, and priorities just to gain a woman's attention. They overextend, overcommit, and overexplain themselves. And when that doesn't work, they feel rejected and defeated. Here's the wake-up call. You don't need permission to be attractive. You don't need to bend your life around someone else's schedule to gain approval. You become irresistible when you respect yourself first. Another mistake men make is confusing charm with desperation. Being charming is about engaging with confidence, not about trying to impress or overcompensate. A man who laughs genuinely, listens intently, and shares his thoughts selectively shows value without begging for it. That's what makes a woman curious, attentive, and ultimately chasing. When you stop seeking constant validation, you become the prize naturally. It's a simple principle that most men overlook. Attraction starts from within. Relatability is important here. Think about moments when you've noticed a woman being drawn to someone. Was it because he tried too hard, or because he simply stood in his own power? That's exactly what women feel. Confidence isn't learned overnight, but it's built every time you prioritize your own goals, respect your boundaries, and refuse to let someone else's approval dictate your worth. This is where the criticism comes in. Too many men are living passive lives, letting circumstances or women define their self-esteem. They react instead of act. They hope instead of create. And because of that, they're invisible in the eyes of women they desire. It's time to wake up. Attraction is not about luck, looks, or being the nice guy who says yes to everything. It's about being the man with presence, purpose, and unshakable confidence. So how do you apply this? Focus on your life, ambitions, and passions first. Build skills, maintain friendships, and pursue goals that matter to you. When you carry yourself with self-assurance, you naturally demonstrate value without having to convince anyone. Women sense it immediately. They chase the man who is steady, grounded, and selective, not the man who constantly seeks their validation. In short, stop being invisible. Stop bending over backward for attention. Stop letting rejection define your worth. Wake up and realize that attraction starts with how you see yourself. When you respect yourself, maintain your boundaries, and project genuine confidence, women will begin to notice, invest, and pursue you. The dynamic flips because you're no longer desperate. You're magnetic. And here's the harsh truth to remember. If you don't wake up and take responsibility for your confidence, your life will stay stuck in the same cycle of frustration and missed opportunities. Women are not obligated to chase you, but when you become the man who commands attention, naturally, chasing becomes their choice. The power lies with you, and it's time to understand that before it's too late. Here's the controversial truth that will make some men uncomfortable. Most of you are losing in the dating game, not because of bad luck, looks, or timing, but because you refuse to take responsibility for your own life and presence. That's right. You're not failing because women are hard to understand or unfair. You're failing because you've been passive, predictable, and desperate for validation. And the reality is, until you wake up and recognize this, nothing will change. Let me be clear. This is not meant to make you feel small or inadequate. It's meant to shake you awake. Too many men live in a state of denial, thinking attraction is something that just happens, or that they're entitled to someone's interest simply by existing. Here's the wake-up call. You are not owed attention, affection, or pursuit from anyone. If you want to be chased, pursued, and desired, you have to become the kind of man worth chasing. That means taking control of your life, your confidence, and your presence. Think about it. How often have you let opportunities slip away because you were waiting for someone else to make the first move, to validate you, or to give you permission to exist? That's exactly the behavior that makes women lose interest. Even subconsciously, attraction doesn't work for passive men. It works for men who carry their own value, who respect themselves, and who are unapologetic about their purpose. Here's another uncomfortable truth. Many men waste years trying to impress women instead of improving themselves. They focus on clever lines, overthinking messages, or worrying about whether she's thinking about them. Meanwhile, the men who succeed, they don't stress about approval. They focus on their life, their skills, their confidence, and their individuality. And because of that, women naturally notice them. The chase flips when you stop chasing and start living with intention. Now, I know some of you might be thinking, that sounds harsh. And yes, it is. But sometimes the truth has to be. If you don't confront reality, you'll stay stuck in the same patterns, wondering why women don't pursue you, while watching other men naturally attract attention without trying half as hard. It's not luck. It's mindset, presence, and self-respect. And once you embrace that, everything changes. Here's where I want to connect with you directly. I don't just want you to watch this video and leave. I want you to reflect on your experiences, your patterns, and your choices. I want you to ask yourself, honestly, how often have you played small, let opportunities slip, or sought approval instead of respect? I want you to comment below with your thoughts, your challenges, and even your frustrations. I read every comment, and I reach out to people when I see someone genuinely ready to make a change. This isn't just about theory. It's about transformation. The most controversial part, most men will never do this. They will continue waiting, hoping, and blaming external factors for their lack of success. That's the hard truth you need to accept. If you're not actively building yourself, setting boundaries, and living intentionally, you are choosing to remain invisible. It's not women's fault. It's not luck. It's your choice. And until you take that seriously, nothing in your romantic life will improve. But here's the empowering side. The moment you take control, the rules flip. When you stop begging for attention, stop compromising your life, and start valuing yourself, women notice. The chase starts happening naturally because attraction isn't just about charm. It's about presence, confidence, and the perception of value. And the best part, it's sustainable. You don't need tricks, manipulation, or constant effort. You just need to be the man who knows his worth, lives fully, and sets subtle boundaries. So, my challenge to you is simple. Wake up. Stop waiting for external validation. Stop being predictable and desperate. Start living with intention, confidence, and purpose. Take these principles, internalize them, and notice how your interactions shift. And don't just watch, share, comment below your experiences, the lessons you've learned, or the struggles you face. I will engage with you. I will read your story. I want to create a connection because transformation is not a solo journey. It's a shared path. Remember this. The controversial truth isn't meant to discourage you. It's meant to empower you. Most men will ignore it. Most will keep playing by outdated rules that don't work. But if you act, if you commit, and if you integrate these lessons, you'll be ahead of 90% of men without even trying. And that is the real power of understanding psychology, presence, and value. Your move is now. Comment below, reflect on your life, and take control of your presence. Stop waiting, start living, and watch how the dynamic changes when you finally stop chasing and begin being chased.